He looked down from his visor. Blood and gore stained the unformed land. That fear he saw in his trembling eyes made him question his crusade and his pride. He then put down his sword and raised his fellow soul, only to be betrayed with a dagger and a curse of old. But he went down smiling. His betrayer now questioned his motive, but he knew in his heart, for all the lives he has taken, taking another one wouldn't mean anything. It wouldn't mean anything at all. But to save a life, well, there may be hope for us after all. Hello everyone, this is the Holy Hermit, and welcome to another video of mine. PvP, brawling, dueling, whatever you want to call it, the goal is still the same. Take the life of your fellow sanctuary dweller, your so-called friend, your so-called enemy. None of that matters. For you, it's all about survival in the end, and that is what we are going to look at in this video today. An in-depth analysis of the skill you're supposed to use. More importantly, the gear question again comes up into this time, but this time it does have a significant meaning after all. The question that we're going to try and answer is the kind of gear setup you should be going after. A normal farming gear wouldn't work very well. It wouldn't work at all. So I'm going to show you ways around it, what kind of gear you need to be going after. If you have some spare gold lying around, now's the time to spend it. And of course, my video wouldn't be complete if I don't talk about the skills. So another big part of this video will focus on skills. Some skills that look very good on paper, that you would think would work very well on PvP. I will be testing those skills today, exclusively for you in a very passive manner, as in I wouldn't be attacking my opponent, but I'll let my opponent do all the damage to me. And the answer would be a result. The result you will see, which skill works and which doesn't. So, what you're seeing me doing now is having a few battles against fellow sanctuary dwellers. It's hard to find people playing PvP these days, so I guess most people don't like this idea, but nonetheless, here I am bringing you a few PvP gameplay. The build you see right now is a primary build that I tried, the very first, a build that focuses on high DPS on very short bursts. It's not an ideal build for Monk, as you will see later on me explaining. It's a shame really. The only concern, the only problem I have with the PvP is characters not being true to their sense. If you're a melee character, you would enjoy tanking. That's the only way to survive. Whether you're a barbarian or a monk, the only way to do good is to have high amount of block chance. Well, that's not ideal, is it? And if you are a ranged character, your job is to kite like you've never kited before, deal damage whilst you're moving away. So as of this very moment, your gear plays a very big part in this whole PvP battle. Skill knowledge is good and all, but you can survive and walk away from battle quite simply if you stack lots of hit HP and lots of defense. All well and good. Battles will last for a very long time. They are fun nonetheless, don't get me wrong, but they are not true to what the Diablo universe is. But nonetheless, it's a great addition, and of course, something is better than nothing. So here we are playing the PvP for you. But now we move on to the testing. I'm honoured to introduce a friend from YouTube, a friend just like you. He's called Iraqi Warrior, and him and I are going to test out a few skills. Now this is my normal build that you see, but I have tweaked it to have about 66% dodge chance, and you see a test quite simply him attacking me and me not doing anything at all. The damage is consistent, but I am dodging a lot of skills, so being a monk, having a high dodge is always good. Here he tries to attack me, take me down, but it takes a very long time. He's also using Cyclone, so this quite simply is a test of having high DPS build. Are they actually viable or not? You'll answer it for me. Moving on from 160k DPS, I've moved down to only 49k DPS. Look at my health now, and all the stats even. I'm going to show you my all resistance and all. I've got about 800 of those. I have a high dodge chance, I have a high block chance, I have a high of everything really, apart from the DPS. But this is a very good way to survive. Compare the time span to the one you saw earlier. Now I'm timing my dodge with my block chance with a shield, and sky's the limit really. You can have a look. The amount of damage he's dealing, all the skills are acting on me, all the debuffs and the buffs so to speak, but my health, HP is not going down at all. So a shield, in my humble opinion, is still a better idea. Next one is the test of Serenity. This is instant karma. It has absolutely no effect whatsoever. So I'm sorry it's not a useful skill for you, our very first test that I was talking about. The next one we are going to look at, well, we're going to look at the same bit, but reap what is sown, reflecting 30% damage back. Another not good idea, I'm afraid. You'd rather off using ascension or peaceful repose to get some healing back in PvP. So these are all in-depth tries I'm doing. Next one is Mantra of Retribution, the first rune, to have highest possible reflection, 60%, and here he is trying to hit me of course with a decent dodge chance, and I would supposedly reflect the damage back. Well, you can see his HP right now, not a lot is happening I'm afraid. So with all the damage he's dealing, and the damage I'm supposed to reflect, nothing is happening. So we've looked at 2 of these mantras already, and they haven't been very good I'm afraid. We're going to try a few more of course, but the end result will always be the same. Mantras, in my humble opinion, are not the right way to go about in PvP. You quite simply don't have enough time. The amount of spirit you spend casting a mantra could very well be used in doing something else entirely. So in my humble opinion, again, I would recommend you to not use mantras, any of them even. Now we're going to look at Backlash of course. This mantra held a slight bit of promise earlier. The higher DPS you have, the more damage you're going to hit a person who's attacking you in melee range. But this too is not very useful. You do see my HP going down, and the same could be said about my friend, but his loss in DPS is not high enough. Maybe if you attack him all the time, this mantra can work very well for you, but you have to remember when you do cast this mantra, you are going to lose 40 spirit. You start off with 150 pool after all, but if you've killed another guy or if you're respawned, that number is only going to be around 75 or even lower depending on the amount of spirit you've consumed. So the idea again is to try and avoid these mantras. Have a high dodge chance just from your dexterity and from your passives, and ignoring these altogether. So I finally die here as you can see, and our friend is around at 20k DPS, almost at half of his HP. Almost, so not good enough. Now the final one, we're going to look at Mantra of Conviction, Submission. Enemies will take 22% damage when they're in the vicinity of the mantra casted. And if you look at our friend's HP, it didn't move at all. So there's that. Now we're going to do a very important test. A test of 7-sided strike versus wall of light. Wave of light that is. So the first one you saw is if a person does not block you, or anyone, quite simply just stands there, the amount of damage you deal is quite simply more with 7-sided strike than it is with wave of light. But what if a person can block you? What if the other guy can interrupt your attack? Something like this on the screen. If they cast Serenity right at the time you use this ability, you quite simply don't do enough damage because there are 7 strikes in total and you only land 1 or 2. But Wall of Light on the other hand is very skillfully done. You cast it whenever you want to, so it's hard for the opponent to actually predict when it's going to hit. So in my humble opinion, Wall of Light, Wave of Light is a better option for us than using 7-sided strike. These are the few tests I did for you. One that I thought would matter us a lot, would make a bit of a difference. So these all did and didn't work for us in their own ways of course. Now I'm going to show you a final build that I've come up with. Gears that is, the kind of setup I'm going after. This will be very strange, and the first strange thing you're going to see is the astounding amount of DPS I have. Only 32k. Nothing at all. And let me answer that first of all. That DPS is quite low. I would want it to be around somewhere 70k or so. So I have a long way to go. But nonetheless, I'm going to show you other important things. My HP is around 90k. My block chance is 53%. My dodge chance is 37%. I have a decent amount of all resistance, and my armor unbuffed is also 6k. So this is the tank build I was talking about. So if you wish to delve in PvP, try out your luck in this gamble, in this great gamble of Diablo, then you're most welcome to do so. I'll round it all up with telling you a few ideas on how to do it. The first way would be to get items with high block chance. I am using Helm of Command with Justice Lantern and a Storm Shield. I have also crafted new items from the new Archon recipes, one with Vitality. I've crafted shoulders that give me lots of vitality. Same thing goes for pants. I've also bought a few other items from Auction House, rings that have high defense, as in resist all and armor, a bit of life regeneration as well. As far as the video goes, I've shown you different ways to play the game. The harder way would be to play on high DPS. It's a glass cannon build after all, but it can work in some cases. The other consistent way is to play on low DPS, but to have high amounts of defense, the one I've showed you right now. In order to get there, of course, you would need a lot of gear change, so it might not be applicable for all of you, but I have given my most concise way possible. But more importantly, I've also shown you some monk skills that we all think could be very good in PvP. In the end, this game is all about having fun, so if you are, please let me know and I'll give you more ideas on it. This has been the Holy Hermit for you. I hope you all have a nice day ahead. This was my video for the weekend. I'm out now. Thanks ever so much for listening. Bye.